Hello, my name is Jackie Liu. I'm here with the 2018 Social Media Corps here at NAFB. I'm standing here with my good friend Ted McKinney, who's the Undersecretary for the USDA. Mr. McKinney, thank you so much for being here. It's so great always to see another Hoosier here in Kansas City. So first we're going to start off kind of what your day-to-day work is with the USDA, what your job entails. You got called up to Washington about a year ago, actually.
Right.
So we met in Indianapolis, and then you jetted off to Washington. So just kind of a day-to-day with the USDA.
Right. Wow. Well, there's no one day like another one. So the simplest, best answer is I do first what my wife tells me to do. I do what the secretary tells me to do and what my chief of staff tells me to do.
Those sound perfect.
Now, that said, I am lucky to have an outstanding foreign ag service, those in D.C., and the many, many, many people out in those 93 embassies around the world. So I try to do and answer problems and needs that they have. But I would say it depends on the time of year. With all the trade issues going on, we've had a number, probably every commodity or food ag group known to man and woman alike, come through my office, and that's fine. We look forward to that. We welcome and embrace that. That's subsided a little bit because we're now in the trade mitigation phase. So sprinkled throughout the year are trade missions. So I probably travel at least a third to a half of the time internationally. More like half, I guess. Trying to break down barriers, and that means meeting with my team in said country. Always meeting government to government, ministers of ag, vice ministers of ag, and trade are frequent. And then there's the operational stuff that you just try to rely on your chief of staff, who is just brilliant. I've got one of the best of the best to get that kind of thing done. So no 2 days alike. Meetings, phone calls, jet off somewhere is probably a good way to summarize it.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are some challenges with that, with trade and everything right now. So what are some challenges as you're going to these foreign countries that you're facing talking trade with them?
Sure. Well, I probably should start with the president. If people are wondering whether we are being treated as we treat them on food and ag trade, the answer is no, we're not. It is quite inequitable. That's okay. I don't carry a chip on my shoulder as a result. This is the time to knuckle down, get on an airplane, and go visit, rebuild trust. The weight of the president's words and, frankly, his follow-up actions has delivered results. People know if you're a member of the WTO, you better follow the rules of the WTO. If we're treating you a certain way, all we want is the same treatment back. It's the old golden rule that you and I grew up on. And so it really is simplified down to that. Now, enacting that and getting to trust, getting to barriers breaking down is a more arduous task. It's not one, it's oftentimes 2 or 3 trips. And so we're communicating by phone, by letter, by email, oftentimes in person. But after you get that trust going, and that I've delivered on some of their needs, just as I hope they're delivering on my needs, then you get more operational, and that's the state we're trying to get to. Not there yet, but we're getting there. And I think we are breaking down trade barriers.
Absolutely, perfect. So kind of transitioning into the NAFB aspect, I'm sure you grew up listening to a lot of these guys and everything. So what does it kind of mean to be a part of 75 years of NAFB?
Well, first, congratulations to NAFB. I cannot say I have been a regular because my job took me into other areas, but I have been to this before. In fact, I was here, dating myself here, back when the National FFA Convention was here as well. So I've known the folks in NAFB. Many of these folks from all over the nation are friends. So it's wonderful to get here. Anytime an institution hits 75 and it's as vibrant as I'm seeing here today is a good sign. It says the industry and the sector's alive and well. And notwithstanding what comes out of Washington, the First Amendment is very important, very powerful, and we've got to sustain it.
Absolutely. And then my final question for you is, why in today's society is farm broadcasting still so important to all of us?
Oh my, well, that's easy. We all live our lives differently, and multitasking and finding that right best source of information for the content, but also the way in which it's delivered is very important. So to give you an example from my end, I'm a big reader. I like to read, but I've also reminded myself that my drive time, instead of listening to some radio station, I'm now listening to some podcasts. And AgriPulse, for example, is one of them. Drive time is something I listen to regularly. So it's just another opportunity in what is otherwise an incredibly busy day, lets me listen to the outside world to know what's going on, because there is such a thing as a bubble in Washington, D.C., and to break out of that bubble is essential. It's essential. And that way, the forms of communication and delivery here, print, radio, TV, podcast, I'm missing half a dozen others, is critical. Social media, I missed that one.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us here today. Like I said, it was so great to see you, and I hope we run into each other again soon.
Oh, thanks, Jackie. You and your team.
With NAFB Social Media, I'm Jackie Liu.